Welcome back to Face the State on this Sunday morning. Today marks 30 days since Jennifer Dulos disappeared in the town of New Canaan. Prosecutors are still focused on her estranged husband, Fotis Dulos, but they have found no evidence of her existence right now. With us today is Ryan McGuigan. He is a former assistant state's attorney and he's currently a defense attorney. We thank you so much for being with us here on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
When I said no evidence of her being alive, correct?
Correct. So at this point, you have a two-pronged investigation. You have looking for Jennifer, trying to find her as best that law enforcement can, and then you have another part of that investigation, which is assuming that she ended in a tragic way. How did that happen? So you're searching for the evidence of what happened to her and where she is.
And prosecutors still are focused on Fotis Dulos.
That's correct.
Are they looking at other people, perhaps?
Perhaps that they are. I believe that they've received over 800 tips. They have 80 or so, or almost 100 pieces of video that they have to go over. So they've received a lot of tips about possible alternate theories. But they're focused on the ex-husband because, and I'll tell you why. In law enforcement, the one thing we have an adage is that we don't believe in coincidences, and to have something else happen to her other than her being killed by her husband would be a heck of a coincidence.
From the prosecutor's point of view, right now there are reports that they're going to be winding down or stopping searching at the trash plant right now. Yeah. What does that tell you?
It tells It tells me that any of the evidence that had been dropped, apparently on Albany Avenue, outside of what they pulled from the bins that had not been emptied, that nothing was found at the trash to energy plant.
In this day of social media and leaks, is that a certainty that they found nothing?
It's not a certainty, no. But
in your belief?
I'm fairly confident that there's not much that was found there.
And so where do they go from here?
From here, you back the investigation up, you start from the beginning, and then you continue to proceed to try to find additional evidence that you can. The state's attorney down in Stanford, Richard Colangelo, started many years ago a technical investigation unit, which is the first one in Connecticut that we have. And what he did when he became the state's attorney is he pooled all of the resources from the several police stations that he had, and rather than each party doing their own technical investigations, he pooled everybody together, so when anybody has an issue, they can come to the unit, and the unit can apply all of the resources that they have to whatever investigation. And all of that has been done in this case. That's where we got a lot of the reports from the cell phone data. All of that got pulled from the unit.
So again, from your prosecutor point of view, the facts as we know them right now is that they were having a contentious divorce.
Correct.
She was afraid of him.
Correct.
Saying that he had threatened her at one point.
Correct.
He's on video dumping garbage in Hartford's North End, and some of that garbage contained sponge and clothing with her blood on it, or her DNA. So as a prosecutor, what kind of case do you have against him?
A very thin circumstantial case. That's what you have. You have no body. And that is a major problem. And as the investigation continues, and you continue to have no body, that's a greater chasm to cross.
Let's shift to the defense attorney side now. That is also very damaging to his client, to Norm Pattis's client, that he was seen on camera dumping her blood-soaked clothing and a sponge in the trash. Why would he have that?
That's a very interesting question for them. I don't know what their answer is going to be. Apparently they're getting together for dinners and discussing these things at his house and coming up with some sort of a logical reason about why he would be doing that, why he would have her blood on him in a bag and disposing of it in a clandestine way in the middle of the North End of Hartford, which I would assume he doesn't frequent, in the middle of the evening. So he'll have to explain all that.
So if you're his defense and they're asking for an August trial, how would you be preparing for it? What argument would you be making?
I wouldn't be preparing for an August trial, because it's not going to happen in August.
You don't think it's going to be in August?
No, I do not. And I think that they'll just continue. And that's the August trial on the current charges that they're charged with. But the problem with that as a defense attorney, which was a good thing for a defense attorney, bad thing for a prosecutor, is that you're talking about hindering prosecution and tampering with evidence of obviously evidence of a murder, obviously hindering prosecution of a murder, but you haven't charged anybody with a murder yet. See the problem?
Can he be charged with murder? Would a prosecutor take that charge right now based on what they have?
It could be. They're going to have to get an ME report, and they're going to have her declared dead first. And but the problem without the body is this, is that we assume that she's dead. Well, how did she die? That's the trouble. Without the body, there is no evidence of her death. There is no evidence of how she died. So therefore, a jury is going to have to conclude for a murder specific findings that would explain how somebody laid in wait for her, and all the predicate the evidentiary findings that they're going to have to make for murder. So it could be a manslaughter case. She could have fallen and hit her head because she tripped when I was carrying her or whatnot. So without a body, it's hard for the state to explain how she died and then prove that it was murder. Very briefly, do you think he could walk free on this case? At this point, it would be unprofessional to answer that, because there's just not enough evidence to see how the state is going to proceed, with what evidence they're going to proceed, and so it's tough to opine on that.
Ryan McGuigan, former defense attorney, former assistant state's attorney. You have a lot of titles, and you're currently a defense attorney, maybe a U.S. attorney someday. All right, Ryan McGuigan, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you very much. And thanks for watching Face the State on this Sunday. I invite you to join me in just a couple of minutes in West Hartford Center for the Concorso Ferrari $1 million cars. And the best thing of all, you'll see kids, patients at Connecticut Children's Medical Center smiling like they've never done before. So come join me in West Hartford Center right now.